Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Deneen and this is Design by Denine. Today I'm participating in a DIY gnome challenge. This challenge is hosted by Donna over at Creative by Nature DIY and Decor. I have a link to her channel in the description box below, as well as to the playlist, because there's going to be all sorts of really cool gnomes you're going to want to check out. For the stuffing, I've actually just used pieces of rag from my dusting and painting rag box. So that's an old tea towel and an old t-shirt. And I've just basically anything that gets me kind of the size and shape that I want. So I've just rolled them all up together and then I've stuffed them inside the sock. The fabric that I've used for the Santa suit and the hat is stretch velvet that I happen to have in my scrap fabric box. I've used it on a couple other projects, so that's what I'll be using. You could use felt if you like, or whatever. In order to make the hat, I cut out 2 triangles and mine came out to about 9.5 inches by 16 inches. This is going to depend on what size your sock is and how tall you've made it and how much you've stuffed it. So that's just for reference. I chose to sew my 2 pieces together. You don't have to sew if you don't want to. You can totally just do this with hot glue if that's your preference. It's just a straight seam up each side, or if you were hot gluing it, right sides together, glue it, and then just leave it until it's dry. Don't muck around with it until it's good and dry, and get a decent amount of glue on there so it sticks all the way down. I had this piece of faux fur in my scrap fabric box. A little advice on buying fur: it's often much cheaper to just buy a cut piece of a bolt than it is to buy fur as trim. So I've measured around the gnome so that the fur goes part of the way around, and then I've just cut out basically a triangle shape without the tip. So some advice when you're cutting fur: you don't want to cut directly through the fur. You want to actually work the scissors in behind the fur so that it's just cutting the backing and not actually cutting the fur. So you can see that when you pull it away, the fur is intact and it's not cut and chopped off. I've made the hat quite a bit bigger so that it has room to go over the top and pull down around the nose, and then also cover up a portion of the back. So just play around with it until you get it how you'd like it. With mine, I've decided to fold it over to the side. So I worked that out first, and then once everything's where you want it, then you glue it into place using hot glue. So this is another piece of fur that I have in my scrap box. And this one has kind of a little sort of a scallopy edge on it, so I'm going to just cut away that edge and I'm going to use that to trim his hat. In order to make the boots, we're using another piece of dollar store black felt. So I'm using my scissors as a template to make a boot. You can use anything that gives you a decent oval shape, and I've just traced around one side of the scissors, and that's going to be one boot. Then we fold and cut the felt so that we've got 4 layers, and then we cut out the shape of our boot. Now I'm taking the 2 halves of each boot and I'm gluing the bottom section of them together, so the toe of the boot. And here I'm using just a little bit of fiberfill stuffing that I happen to have. You could use a cotton ball or a makeup remover pad would work. So we're just stuffing the toes of the boots a little bit, and then we're going to glue them closed. And once they're glued closed, we're going to apply glue to the top of them, and we're going to attach them to the bottom of Santa. So when it came time to do the pom-pom, I didn't actually have a white pom-pom. So here are a couple options. This is a little rose that I have left over from another project. You could use that. And this is the same styrofoam ball that I used to do his nose. And you're just going to attach it to the bottom of his hat with hot glue. And one of the final steps that I did was went back in and just reattached the hat and the trim, the fur trim, to his nose. And now we just add Santa Gnome in with some seasonal decor and we're ready for the holidays.